This is Mia from Mimo Design Laser Files, and I'm back with a new Halloween countdown ornament. So this time it's the moon with the witch flying over the moon and bats. The files, when you get them, will have a hanger bag. It will also have a bag for magnets. The wheels will have a engraved wheel and a scored wheel. The fronts, I couldn't decide if I wanted to have this scored crater of the moon or not. So I actually made both. Also, the witch is layered, so is the bats. Each witch comes with 3 bats. You can cut more if you'd like, and you can arrange them however you want. I'll show you how to assemble this one, because this one I'm not going to paint. I am going to paint the other one. So let's get to it. I want this to have the ornament back, and I actually think, let's see, that I want to use the scored wheel. So assembling is really easy. Once you've cut your files, it's really important that you sand the bagger on the pretty side and also on the inside, so it's smooth. The same goes for the front. The wheel, you don't want to sand this inner piece. You actually want this to be just a tiny bit thicker than the wheel itself. When you're assembling, you want to give this a little additional height. You can either do that with 3M tape, cardboard, or something else. What I do is that I use a stapler. This one you can get from Amazon. I actually dropped a link. I'll just, paint my hanger back here before we assemble, because this one will show. So when you're ready to assemble and you've painted if you want, this is all natural plywood. It's 4mm plywood, poplar plywood. So what you want to do is take your bag, depending if it's with the hanger or not, place your wheel and align the wheel to the edges. Once you've done that, you could either use your 3M tape or you could just staple it directly. What these staples will do, besides attaching this to the back, is that they'll actually lift this just a tiny bit. And this lifting from the staples are actually enough to have the wheel slide easily. You could also use a piece of cardboard or plastic or whatever, or use some more glue that you know will not dry in as or soak into the wood and kind of leave a shell. I want to use wood glue on this one, so I'll make sure that I have glue on top of the staples. Just add a little more. Don't get too much glue on, because if you go over this edge and it hits the wheel, it will be stuck. So less is more, but you want to make sure that the glue is attached to the staples. Then you just place your front and you align the poison bottle to the hanger, like this. And you make sure that it's nice and smooth on the edge and aligned with that. And then you just take some staples to hold it down. Sometimes I'll use super glue while this is drying, but since I'm going to do the painting tutorial on the other, I'll just let this rest until it's dry. But once it's dry, if you don't want to watch the painting, You remove the clamps, give your lever a nice turn, you attach the string, and it's ready to go. You of course want to glue on the witch and bats. I could actually do that now because my clamps are not. So I use CA glue, super glue. This one is from Loctite, and you don't need a whole lot. I'll just add a little, and I actually think that I will use this old glove and just dab it off so I don't have a lot of excess. Then you just place it and align it with the scored lines here. And that's the witch. So for the bats, as said, you can arrange them however you like. I think I'll go ahead and place 3 on this one. So just give it a tiny bit of your glue. And see if you can position them the way you want it. I like to arrange mine before I glue them down, just so I know which direction I want it to go. So that's it, 7 minutes. So this is a really fast project. For the painting, it might not be that fast, but it's up to you if you want to keep everything natural or if you'd like to give it some color. I want to give this moon some color, so I'll just remove my wheel, the back, and this layered witch. So when I cut the sheet, I did focus on these stripes or texture that my sheet already has, and I picked this exact sheet for that reason, because I think it will make some moon details. So the way I'll paint mine is by using watercolor. This is a cheap set that I bought from our local supermarket. I'll also use these metallic watercolor. So this one is from, I don't even know if it says so, but it's from Flying Tiger Copenhagen. You can get these on Amazon as well, and I'll find a link for similar watercolors that you can get from Amazon. But for the moon, I want the lower parts to be dark, because that's kind of the shade. So the way I'll do that before I head on to the watercolor is to take an acrylic marker. I use these dual tipped pens because they have a light color and a dark color or matching color in both ends. I'll also link these below. I actually think this one might be better. Let's see. But I'll just do this pretty quickly. This is too light because when you, whoops, there's black on that one. Let's see if I can get the right one. I'll just add in some color. I don't want to color in everything, but I do want to have this look a little darker and shade the compared to the watercolor. So I'll go in and just touch up some of these spots, and don't worry about the scored lines, because if you use acrylic markers like these, you can't really paint them over. You have to push really hard to get them off. So I'll use the lighter yellow in the other end as well, so it's kind of dual tone and already highlighted and shaded, if that makes sense. So that will make the shade. Next up, I'll be using my watercolor. The witch I'm not concerned about because that will be layered. But let's see, I have some yellow, and you of course need some water, and you need a brush. So I'll just use this flat brush. You can use any, but I'll actually go ahead and take the lightest yellow that I have. Another thing that I failed to mention is that I rounded the edges for my entire ornament here. So to do that, you just take your sander when you're sanding the front and you kind of tilt it. That way you can round the edges to have kind of a 3D look. Now that I have my yellow in place, and I know this looks like a mess right now, but it will be prettier, I'll go in with some white. I do have a little pink blended in it as well, but that's okay. And I'll just kind of mix stripes. And I am this way going to highlight everything and make it look a little glowing. I'll make some round movements because the moon is round. And around the witch, I'm actually going to highlight just a little bit more. And I want to fade out this darker edge. So let's just add some more white to that. And I now have kind of the base color. So what I'll do to make it dry just a little faster is to use a heat gun. Once it's dry, and mine is semi-dried, you might experience that the wood will raise just a little from the water in the water paint. An easy way to fix that is to take a fine grit sponge and just carefully wipe it over. That way you can remove those bumpy, or yeah, I don't know what you call them, but the raised wood. So now that I have my base color, I want it to be shiny. So for this one, I'm only going to use my white and my gray. So I'll take some of my gray just to kind of shade over this darker spot and make it blend afterwards. So this is the dark side of the moon. Let's go ahead and take the white. And since I'm going to go over the engravings up here, I will be careful not to push as much because I don't want this mica powder, which is what this is, to go inside the engraving and color it. So we're starting to get somewhere now. I'll just try and blend this a little. But I still think I might took a too yellow marker down here. So I probably shouldn't have gone this light. But let's just see. I'll just see if I can kind of fade it with some yellow as well. Because this will actually go into your scored lines as well. So it will make them not so visible afterwards. But let's try again. I'm going to add some more of my white. The more white I'm adding of this mica stuff or shimmer watercolor, the more moon-like and shiny the moon will be. And I'm right now focusing on the inner part around the witch, because I will add some details down here in just a second. So let's take my witch and just see how it looks by now. And it's not bad, but I do want this to be faded more because the yellow I used here was way too dark. So keep that in mind, guys, don't do my mistakes. So I'm going to find another marker. I actually think I will find the one that was light here. And if it's not too dry, you actually want it to be just a little wet. So I'll just add some water here. And if you then go in with a light marker, you can use your finger to smudge it. So you might see how I am getting rid of these very, very dark yellow marks now. So go ahead and add some more highlights where you want them and smudge. So that's more like the yellow that I wanted. I'll now take a white marker. I have a Posca pen. You can use any. My white and the acrylic markers are just empty. And I'll just go around the edge like this and kind of highlight it. While I'm going through, I'm also using my finger to smudge it. If you don't want to have paint on your fingers, you could wear a glove, but this is easy to remove with water and soap. So I don't mind. Your finger will end up messy. And I do feel that it's a little dry up here now. So let's just add some water. If it's damp, it's easier to smudge the acrylic. If you don't want to use markers, you could also use a brush and a pen. Now that I'm done with this, I want to make some round details in here. And again, I'll smudge it by just going in circles. And it's starting to look like something now. So I did do another ornament, but I wasn't really satisfied about how my scored details looked on the first version. So this is actually the second generation of this ornament. So the other one I did paint more like a blood moon, but that's also something you could do. So I'll just show you how it was painted, although I ended up tossing it. So let's try and add our witch again. And the highlight that I did is kind of gone now. There's just a few little on the back. So I will go ahead and just kind of follow these chord lines to make the witch pop just a little. So instead of dragging my finger, I'm kind of just dabbing. And this is really random, so you don't have to follow the exact lines like that, I think. Let's just add the witch. That looks nice. So once again, I'll just dry it a little. And I'll go in again with my metallic paint here. Instead of covering it all, I will just dab it. And again, be careful about your engraved text. So I might take a little yellow, not too much because I really don't want it to look yellow. I actually think I'll go ahead with the gray instead. Yeah. And you can build these shapes that a moon has. So I'll just make some spots around. Like this, I think. And my bottom is supposed to look darker. So I might even add some light colors to this. So the fun thing with watercolor is that you can play around with it forever. And if you have something that you don't like, you can just go in and add some more or less. But I think I am getting to the point where I want this to look like now. So I don't know if you can see it, but the metallic powder is so shiny and cute for this one. So again, I'll dry it and I'll take my Posca marker, but this time I'm not doing it while it's wet, so this will be more permanent on the edge than it was before. So I'll not be able to smudge it as much, but that's my intention. So I lay this flat on the table because it's easier to control, although it slipped there. So I'm still smudging it just to fade it a little, but since it's not wet, it will have more white to it. Once you're done, you can go in again and add some details. And since I don't have any water on it, it will be more visible this time. You can even go in and make some small doodles and just dab them into the moon. And all these little details will help it look shiny and natural. So I will probably go ahead and add just a little more detail to it, but so far this is how it looks like. It might be difficult to see in the light. Okay, I actually wasn't quite finished because in the end I went in with this varnish that is metallic colored. It's kind of gold, but not really. So I'm using a worn out brush and just kind of tapping around, and that will actually make these cool looking moon craters. So I think I am already done, and I'm so sorry that I didn't include this with the tutorial, but this really made it pop. So if you want a tutorial where I show you how to do this also, please drop a comment. I will see if I can make a tutorial on how to do it with the Santa edition, so you'll just have to wait for it. But thank you so much for for watching, and I hope you still enjoyed this video. In the end, this is how it turned out. So I didn't show the assembly of this one, but it's the exact same as the other, besides it's with a magnet instead. So once your project is dry, you can just move the lever around and hopefully it is spinning. So I love these gold details and I'll definitely use those again. If you like these files, go ahead and check in the descriptions. I've linked both my Etsy shop and our own website, allstarsdesign.com. And I hope to see you soon.